Who are these people?
Well, speaking of overseas, so did you see that story about the dirty bomb? Did that make it to your timelines? No?
Are you asking me or are you asking the chat?
You specifically.
Only when you showed this to me last night.
Okay. You need to like trim the beard. It's getting like, when you got to pull hairs out of your mouth every like 5 minutes, it's like it's time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, Scott Ritter, who Tars had him on her podcast and wrote this up for Consortium News, and he's Scott Ritter was a former weapons inspector. So I felt like he was a good choice for writing this story. So he talks about the dirty bomb scare here. And Russia appears to be legitimately concerned about the possibility of Ukraine building and using a dirty bomb, so much so that it has taken the unprecedented step of reaching out to multiple senior Western defense authorities. So, another friend of the show, you know that little guy's that guy right there, old Richie Medhurst. If you're not subbed to Richie, but he's got a little 7-minute video to intro this for us. So you ready, fam?
I'm ready.
So there's this new claim from Russia that the Ukrainians are planning to use a dirty bomb. And when I saw dirty bomb, the first thing I thought of was Iraq, because I remember back then on TV, you had this claim in the UK and the US that, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction and he has all these variants, right? He can cook up anthrax and bubonic plague in the back of a truck like Breaking Bad. He has underground facilities, and he's also planning on giving it to Al-Qaeda, and he has dirty bombs. So that's a bomb that contains radioactive material, okay? And now, turns out this isn't about Iraq. It's about Russia and Ukraine. So let's go through it together. Here's the BBC article. I know some of you are rolling your eyes. Oh no, BBC. Yeah, I'm rolling them too. Ukraine war. NATO denounces Russia's dirty bomb claim. So let's see what's going on. NATO's Secretary General has warned Russia over its quote-unquote false claim that Kiev might use a dirty bomb, conventional explosive laced with radioactive material. Stoltenberg tweeted that the NATO allies reject this allegation and Russia must not use it as a pretext for escalation. The Russian defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, made the dirty bomb remarks in a call with his UK counterpart, Ben Wallace. So that's interesting that the Russian defense minister is calling the British one. I saw Lloyd Austin, who's the head of the Pentagon, so Shoigu's counterpart, also holding a call with him. Let me pull that up quickly on Twitter. There we go. This is the one I'm looking for. So this is 23rd of October. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says, quote, I spoke by phone today with Russian Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu, who requested a follow-up call. I reject any pretext for Russian escalation and reaffirm the value of continued communication amid Russia's unlawful and unjustified war in Ukraine. That's great. How about you get out of Syria too? That's unlawful. No, but seriously, like what I'm trying to tell you guys is that the Russian defense minister has basically been calling up his counterpart in the US, in the UK, and other countries to talk about this dirty bomb. And I don't think I've seen something like that in this war, where the Russian defense minister is trying to speak with his counterparts, all of them, and warn them about something. So that's interesting. You could reach two conclusions based on this information. You could think that, okay, well, he must be serious. If he's calling these people up who are actually really his enemies, and he's calling them up, what's going on here? Is it a ruse? Or is he serious? I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but let's continue. So Ukraine condemned the remarks. Zelensky said this meant Russia itself could be preparing an attack of this kind. Yeah, I knew that. I knew he'd say that. On Sunday, Mr. Shoigu... Oh, there we go. This is what I was just telling you. So he called the French, Turkish, and American defense ministers. He provided no evidence to back up his accusations. He said he was concerned about possible provocations by Kiev involving the use of a dirty bomb. Other top Russian commanders made the same allegation. But in a joint statement, the French, British, and American foreign ministers said they reject Russia's transparently false allegations that Ukraine is preparing to use a dirty bomb on its own territory. They're saying that, military analysts are chalking this up to Russia just, being a sore loser. They're losing ground, and so they're trying to make up this dirty bomb thing. That's their take on this. Since Russia invaded Ukraine in February, 30-nation NATO has provided Kiev with billions of dollars worth of weapons and military training, but refuses to intervene directly with air support or troops, as Ukraine is not a member. Christ. I mean, you just kind of said they're intervening directly, but okay. Zelensky accused Russia of being the source of everything dirty that can be imagined in this war, and he said Russia was threatening the world with radiation disaster at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, which it had captured, and also spoke of Moscow's threats to detonate a major dam in southern Ukraine. We have had a couple of escalations in the war. The Crimea bridge was blown up with a truck bomb. The Nord Stream pipelines were blown up and sabotaged. And all evidence points to these being man-made events and to being therefore sabotage and perpetrated by Ukraine. The Ukrainians basically admitted that they blew up the Crimea bridge. I have the video of the foreign minister of Ukraine literally saying that on tape. And before that, we had the SBU, the Ukrainian security services, basically admitting to it the day it happened. Zelensky as well. They joked about it in a way that indicated that they were behind it. And like I said, the foreign minister of Ukraine himself on tape saying we blew it up. What more evidence do you need? It was Ukraine. So, again, truck bombs, Al-Qaeda style truck bombs are in now. All right, they're in. Very fashionable these days. You have several significant escalations in the war, acts of sabotage, and Ukraine was behind them. So, logically, who is most likely to be behind a dirty bomb? Just logically. And when I'm seeing the stuff about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, let me just remind you, at the start of the war, when the Russians first took the plant, this is the biggest nuclear plant in Europe, they also accused the Russians of firing at it. They said, you're endangering the plant, you're going to cause a nuclear meltdown, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that several of the reactors weren't even online. And Russia never fired on it. They had fired something at a neighboring barrack or something. Not barracks, but it was like a tiny hut, right? So again, that was a false claim. The Russians never fired at the nuclear plant. Obviously, I think everyone would prefer that nobody fires anything anywhere near a nuclear plant. Sure, I get that. But that was a fake claim which they made. And again, I see Israel sabotaging Iranian nuclear sites all the time. No one gives a crap about that, Nuclear disasters are cool in Iran if it's done by Israel. So, I really doubt the Russians are trying to cause a nuclear disaster at Zaporizhzhia. This is nonsense. That's nonsense. And when it comes to a dirty bomb, why would they... The Russians have nukes. Okay, they have actual nuclear warheads that are better than anyone else's, and they have more of them than anyone else. Why would they use a dirty bomb? I don't know any acts of sabotage in this war by the Russians. The Russians, when they do something, they do it out in the open, right? The ones that are doing sabotage and pursuing that line of warfare, it's mainly, it's mainly NATO and the Ukrainians. It's let's go after Russian generals with the help of U.S. intelligence. Let's sink the Russian flagship in the Black Sea. Let's do Nord Stream. Let's do the Crimea Bridge. That was Ukraine. So the behavior doesn't match Zelensky's claim that Russia would be pursuing dirty bomb. I don't see this, man. I hope for everybody's sake that there won't be a dirty bomb, because that is a very, very, very significant escalation. I mean, that's way worse than Nord Stream and Crimea. Like, if that happened, you could have a nuclear war, maybe. I'm really puzzled what's going on. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments. Like, why would the Russian defense minister be calling Lloyd Austin, Ben Wallace, and the Turkish defense minister and telling them about this? Is he serious? Is he bluffing? What's going on? In any case, this is a breaking story. It's just from the couple of past hours, so I'm just giving you all the information that we have. And just...
What do you think, Collin? So far?
I'm actually going to save my thoughts till later.
Okay.
So...
we'll
So
get more
there's this
into it.
new claim from Russia that the
But so let's just got Ritter's article again. I just wanted to showcase Richie a little bit because it's rare that he does a video short enough that I can.
No, that's not true. He does enough clips.
Yes, but like 7 minutes is a little long for like bringing with me, you know. Otherwise, I gotta like do extra work and break it up, you know. But in the span of a few hours on Sunday, the senior-most Russian defense authorities, Minister of Defense Sergei Shoigu and General Gennady Gerasimov, I think is the names of these people, right? Called their counterparts in the U.S., UK, France, and Turkey with the same message. Ukraine is prepping to detonate a so-called dirty bomb. High explosives wrapped radiological material designed to contaminate large areas with deadly radioactive isotopes. You've heard of dirty bombs before, Collin, right?
Well, now I have.
Okay. So this is theoretically the way they work, right? You know, you put radioactive material, right? I think cesium was the one that I remember them talking about. When in regard to like Iranian dirty bombs. But it's then a conventional explosive like, you know, fertilizer, ammo, that sort of stuff, right? To essentially disperse this radioactive material, right? As opposed to like a nuke, which actually separates atoms.
Right.
You know?
So this is basically, it's basically, I don't want to say it in this way, and I don't think it's not even equivalent, but it would be kind of the equivalent if you made like something at home, almost, in a sense of.
Yeah, you had to be able to have the radioactive material, but you know,
like
you cook down enough bananas.
Given like if you don't have necessarily the technology to have a nuclear bomb.
Yes.
That this would be.
You don't know how to quite split that atom in the right way.
Like,
you know,
this is
or enriched.
old,
you also need
this
enriched radioactive material for that, and you don't necessarily need that for this. You can use a much more, but so collaboration on a dirty bomb at a National Academy of Sciences site in Ukraine was exposed by details in Russia, right? So you think this is just Russia claiming? No, this is an actual like Academy of Science over in Ukraine, right? So UK Defense Minister rushed to emergency meeting in DC, pissing in his pants as a result of a Russian expose. Russia may have retaliated against London. So Russia is not only concerned at the immediate impact of Ukraine detonating such a device in terms of the harm that we've done to people and the environment, but also about the potential for such an event to be used by Ukraine's Western allies to directly intervene militarily in the ongoing conflict, similar to what occurred in Syria, when allegations about the use of sarin nerve agent by the Syrian government against civilians were used by the US, UK, and France to justify an attack on Syrian military and infrastructure targets. It turned out that the allegations of sarin use was false. The jury is still out about the use of commercial chlorine as a weapon.
Yeah, just stop. That's kind of what I was thinking about, but I feel that's kind of where I was thinking, you know, like this is kind of Ukraine's way of kind of saying,
it's
in
tagging
a way,
people
kind of,
in.
Yeah, like, because really Russia and the US are not doing anything directly.
Yeah.
But essentially Ukraine is kind of making it so like,
they have to.
Someone has to do, like, they're basically egging both sides on.
Yes.
You know, like, so Ukraine is basically saying, oh, I have this bomb, you know, Russia, what are you going to do about it? But then, like, hey, look, like, you know, like, I have this bomb, guys. I need some help. And I feel
at the same time, they're blaming Russia for it.
Right.
Like, they're blaming Russia as the maker of it, when it's like, well, no. You know,
so I
actually,
just feel like, so I just feel like this is Ukraine's way of just kind of, in a sense, I think as far as our media gaining more support for this, you know, especially from our politicians who are already giving a lot more money. But I think, you know, in terms of like, if you're thinking financially, you know, them having a bomb, and then kind of, kind of almost saying almost to the West, if we need to use it, we will, but obviously like we don't have the manpower that you guys have that you're able to do something in Russia. So we need you to kind of help us. So yeah, I think this is just kind of egging both sides, but more especially the West in terms of the finances and the manpower that they have, that we actually have nuclear bombs to really offset what Russia has. So
yeah, Russia is to raise the matter at the UN Security Council on Tuesday, Reuters reported, and in return, Western governments on Monday accused Russia of plans to deploy a dirty bomb. We've been very clear with the Russians about the severe consequences that would result from nuclear use, said U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price. There would be consequences for Russia whether it uses a dirty bomb or a nuclear bomb. Ukraine is requesting that the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, send a team to Ukraine to investigate. So, yes, this is them more egging, right?
Yeah.
For all the press attention that has been given to the possibility of a dirty bomb being used in Ukraine, history shows that despite the hype, a dirty bomb is not a weapon that is either easily produced or procured or causes the kind of mass casualties its proponents hope for.
Yeah, that was also what I was thinking. It's just like, It's not like on the same, that's why I made a very bad, association, but it's not going to kind of do the damage that a nuclear bomb would.
No.
I think it's just a way to kind of get, again, I'm not even sure really, as I'm saying, this is more for Russia. This is really more for the West.
Yep.
Just in terms of like, we don't have anything. We need you. Give us more money or ally with us and bomb Russia, basically, is what I'm kind of getting that vibe out of this.
So the current dirty bomb scare isn't Russia's first encounter with the concept. In November 1995, a dirty bomb comprised of high explosive and cesium was uncovered in Moscow's Emailovsky Park, and in December 1998, another cache of radioactive material was found attached to an explosive charge near a railroad track in Chechnya. Both devices were disarmed by Russian security forces. So, in May 2002, FBI agents arrested Jose Padilla, an American citizen who converted to Islam as he returned to the United States from a trip that took him to Egypt, Pakistan, and eventually Afghanistan, where sometime in 1999-2000, he allegedly met with Abu Zubaydah, Osama bin Laden's operation chief. According to Zubaydah, was that Zubaydah, I think?
Yeah. It's spelled it wrong both times. That's
sure.
the name, but whatever.
He and Badilla discussed the possibility of Padilla building and detonating a dirty bomb inside the U.S. Right? While Al-Qaeda had apparently drafted plans for such a weapon, and in fact had accumulated radioactive medical isotopes for use in a dirty bomb, these materials were seized by the UN in 2002. None of this information was shared with Padilla, who arrived in the U.S. with neither weapon design nor means to accomplish the task. He was tried and convicted nonetheless. The closest the world has come to the actual production and employment of an actual dirty bomb came in 1987 when Iraq built and tested 4 devices designed to spread a cloud of radioactive dust for the express purpose of killing humans. In this case, Iranian soldiers. Iraq was, at the time, engaged in a long and bloody conflict with Iran. The device in question, an air-dropped bomb measuring 12 feet in length and weighing more than a ton, was, according to documents turned over by Iraq to the United Nations inspectors, intended to be dropped on troop areas, industrial centers, airports, railroad stations, bridges, and any other areas the command decrees. According to the document, the bomb was intended to induce radiation sickness, which would weaken enemy units from the standpoint of health and inflict losses that would be difficult to explain, possibly producing a psychological effect. Death, the document noted, would occur within 2 to 6 weeks. The Iraqis chose zirconium as their radioactive source. The Iraqis had zirconium in quantities due to its use in incendiary weapons. By irradiating zirconium flakes in the Iraq nuclear reactor located in Tuiwafa, the The Iraqis produced the radioactive isotope zirconium-95, which had a half-life of 75.5 days, meaning the bomb would have been used soon after it was manufactured. Right? The weapon was tested 3 times in 1987, including a final test involving 2 actual dirty bombs dropped by aircraft. The weapons were a bust, losing their radioactive properties shortly after detonation. In fact, one would need to stand within 10 feet of the point of detonation of the bomb to absorb a lethal dose of radiation, something the high explosive charge of the bomb itself made moot. The project was abandoned. The Iraqi results were replicated by Israel, which between 2010 and 2014 carried out 20 explosive tests of actual dirty bombs in the Negev desert. The research found that the radiation was dispersed in a manner that the danger posed to humans was not substantial, concluding that the main impact of such an attack would be psychological. So Ritter wants to ask, false flag or false alert? The Russians were serious about the threat posed by the possibility of a Ukrainian dirty bomb. While the history of dirty bombs does not point to a threat on the scale or scope of an actual nuclear weapon, one can worst case a scenario which provides the potential for the significant loss of life and property from the radioactive fallout such as such a weapon could produce. Such an outcome would be a disaster which Russia and presumably the Western allies of Ukraine would like to prevent. So far, the Russian allegations appear to have fallen on deaf ears, with Ukraine dismissing the claims as absurd and non-government affiliated Western analysts flipping the script, accusing Russia of actually pinning a false flag attack on Ukraine using a dirty bomb of its own construction. But the reality is that Russia takes its senior military-to-military connections with its Western counterparts very seriously, given the role such contexts play in the kind of deconfliction cooperation that keeps small-scale incidents from exploding into war. Small-scale incidents, Jesus. The possibility that Russia would deliberately corrupt this communication channel with disinformation is highly unlikely. Russia appears to be legitimately concerned about the possibility of Ukraine building and using a dirty bomb so much so that it has taken the unprecedented step of reaching out to multiple senior Western defense authorities to prevent such an occurrence from happening. If, at the end of the day, the appropriate phone calls are made by the West and Ukraine backs down, then Russia will have succeeded, and if it turns out that the Russian information is wrong, there was no harm from the effort. However, if Russia is correct, and Ukraine not only is preparing to use a dirty bomb but detonates one, and the West did nothing to prevent it, then Russia is on the record for having provided the West with due warning. So, again, Scott Ritter is a former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer who served in the former Soviet Union implementing arms control treaties in the Persian Gulf during Operation Desert Storm and in Iraq, overseeing the disarmament of WMDs. His most recent book is Disarmament in the Time of Peroitskaya, published by Clarity Press, if you want to find that. Just wanted to point out his accolades. Thoughts, Colin?
Yeah, it seems like Russia is trying to be the bigger man here, one, like, bombs are bombs. So, so obviously, the idea of having a dirty bomb is not, we shouldn't laugh at that, but at the same time, in comparison to a nuclear bomb, like, and I don't want to downplay the idea, but it's like, nuclear bomb, it's a lot more of a serious threat than a dirty bomb is. But the fact that, like, Ukraine is almost kind of tempting Russia with this dirty bomb thing. And Russia is being like, look, like, we don't want to start nothing, like, West, take care of this or look into this or whatever. And, and then Ukraine, I think is using this as a way for the West to kind of intervene. In a way that could potentially lead us into more of an escalation. So and at the end of the day, it just sucks all around, because whether there's a dirty bomb, whether there's a nuclear bomb, whether there's something, and I think especially with this week, given like the squad wrote that letter
Yeah.
You
And
know,
then took it
that
away immediately.
and then they essentially took it away, you know, like, so, you know, government is still supporting this, you know, so it's kind of like, where are the adults in the room, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Russia, I don't want to, like, look, I will say this, I have no love for Russia. Like, Russia is led by a capitalist in the same way that our country is run by a capitalist, you know? Right now, though, we can only account for what we do within our own country. That's where my accountability is to, primarily. You know, the fact that, like, again, the US is not even speaking in terms of some type of de-escalation slash ceasefire slash peace deal with Russia, you know, is extremely concerning to me. And, you know, and I think, again, even the fact that the squad, you know, didn't even have the balls to kind of stand up when they got, you know, I'm hearing two things, like basically they got told, shut your asses up, or like, because a Republican actually agreed with them, or seemingly Republicans actually agreed of actually calling for like peace, then the Democrat probably basically attacked the squad, you know, for the fact that a Republican that essentially, which I thought that was politics,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah.
like, the
Diplomacy.
idea that you're right in terms of diplomacy. So,
Yeah.
We're fucked.
yeah, it's, yeah, basically. So, I don't know. Like, either way, it's just like, is a dirty bomb significant? Sure. Is it going to do the damage compared to what a nuclear bomb is going to do, given the article? No. Like,
But it's
because that's
still,
still lives taken away.
it's still, you
That's
got to
still
deal
life.
with it because it's
But
like,
I think this is like, but essentially, like, Ukraine is trying to make a bigger deal out of what I think it really should be, but I think in a way to kind of taunt the West.
well, and it's
to get more
also,
involved.
to some degree, it's also like hypocritical. It's showing like the West hypocrisy as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When they
Right.
went in Syria and dealt with stuff, you know, we're the world's police, but yet we're not going to police this. You
Right.
know, that's kind of the thing. So, but anyway,